Just went pause, oh, there it goes.
All right, we're going to start the Town of Sangerville Board of Selectmen meeting. It's Wednesday, September 4th, 2019, and I have 6:31. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 2, approval of the minutes, August 21st, 2019. Have we looked at them yet?
No,
Okay. Just this one copy?
Yeah.
yeah, because then I get back to the
Okay.
office with an unsigned copy.
Go.
Looks good to me.
Yeah, make a motion to approve the minutes of August 21st, 2019.
Those in favor? 3. Review of, do you want to table these? We'll do,
No, it'll take a second.
okay,
Just wasn't.
these warrants,
Oh, okay.
because I haven't looked at them yet.
No.
Okay, well, let's table them.
Yeah, we'll do them at the end.
And, yep,
Open session, we've got guests tonight, so maybe people would like to speak. This is your chance to do so. Go right ahead, sir.
First of all, I'm Milton Hughes, my wife Kim, and we're representing with Paul and Janice Horner. We're off West Road, and first off, I'd like to tender our apology for not getting back to you quicker to say thank you for repairing our road and doing some ditching for us on West Road. We're often too quick to complain and too slow to say thank you, and we'd like to say thank you for that. On the other part, we'd like to bring forward is the, on our road there, we're getting summer maintenance, but West Road leads into our homes on the pond down there, and it gets quite a bit of traffic down there. And what we'd ask the town to do is when Mr. Newt, which I think has the contract for snow plowing that area, it takes about 30 minutes to plow that town mile. And of course, at the end of that town mile, it turns into the private road that gets into our homes down in there. We need this road plowed for our safety, for ambulances to get into us. I'm not getting any younger. So with emergency services to be able to get to us, we'd ask that the town come in and plow that 1 mile in the wintertime. It wouldn't take but about 30 minutes, one time in, one time out. We know that it's plowable, because we've been keeping it open for several years now. And we have had another person to come in with a large plow truck, town-sized plow truck, and helped us out when we couldn't plow it ourselves. So I'd like to ask the town if they could just take on that little spur off there and keep us safe as much as possible. Thank you.
Do you have any? No. That would, if we were going to adopt another road for winter maintenance, I think we'd have to actually go to the town and ask for permission. That process would involve a warrant article, like that meeting we just had. So it would be quite a process. Now, we could do it. The selectmen could say, we'd like to pick up one of these private roads, and it's funny because we had another one with summer maintenance they wanted some help with, but it's a private road, so we couldn't do that.
Well, yeah.
You're not picking up a private road. The first mile of West Road is already a town road.
It's like the Anderson Road.
And
Yes.
so
Yep. Same, but there's a point there where the town's commitment stops.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
So if we were gonna add to those commitments, there's a process to do that. I don't think we just unilaterally do that as selectmen. We would have to, you'd have to go to the town and they'd have to decide they were gonna extend, that, so that's how that works.
Yeah, that's what
So,
we're asking.
right, how do we start that process?
There basic, there may be more ways. One would be, you need a warrant article on the town meeting, for the next town meeting. And one way to get that would be through petition. And if you get enough signatures, your request will be on the article. We wouldn't block it, so
Right.
that's probably the most straightforward way. The other way would be to convince two selectmen that it should be on the warrant, and they could do that. That's the only two ways that I can think of
So we ask
that would
that.
advance it.
So how many signatures would be needed on a petition?
It's 10% of the last gubernatorial, and we don't dare quote it to you.
Right.
It was
But I
last
get it.
time, it was like 60, 70, wasn't it? Pretty
It's
close.
60,
Because Mr. Rowell had a petition and he got his numbers
He
easily.
tripled it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but, yeah,
I think
it's probably around,
60.
somewhere between 60 and 100, I guess. But that's,
closer,
Friday can tell you.
yeah, closer to 60, we'd have to
Yeah.
go, we can go look it up and,
So you would know that when you start it.
yeah, we could tell you tomorrow
Right.
with the
I'm just
computer.
wondering how.
And they need to be registered voters in Sangerville. That's
Mm-hmm.
important because you can spend a lot of time getting signatures that don't count.
I'm
And
just
that's not
wondering how
fun.
receptive the residents would be to thinking about picking up yet another road. I mean, it's a mile, but
You could start asking before you start petitioning, I mean, get a feel for,
Everybody that has camps in that area
Mhm.
is gonna want it.
most of them aren't gonna be residents.
Yeah, they have to
I mean,
be.
we've got a combination of residents and seasonal down here, so.
So right now, it's just summer maintenance.
Yes.
That
yes,
first mile
that
is
first one,
just
yes.
summer maintenance. And we have several roads in Sangerville that
Oh,
are
well, we have
just,
quite a few,
yeah,
yeah.
right,
Yeah,
right.
and then we're not, that's pretty typical in Maine.
Right.
And I'm not sure, I was trying to remember in the order, I know there's stipulations to bring a road back, but I can't remember if it's defined as summer or winter maintenance. But there is stipulations in our ordinance on that, or policy on that too.
Yeah, I know that some
the law
roads,
has changed,
I
Last 4
know,
or
that's,
5.
it may not,
yeah.
I'm not sure. I think there's things we need to check into.
I'll do some research.
but I think that's a pretty good, explanation of the process. That's, and honestly, probably gathering the signatures, you're gonna get kind of a feel for what sort of reception the idea might get.
And it'd probably be worth knowing how much that would cost, so that when you're getting signatures, that's probably gonna be the question, okay, how much is it gonna cost the town? So that might be something you're going to wanna inform yourself about. So
Yeah,
that,
and it can get thorny because just plowing sometimes commits you to other things like future ditching and future culverts, and those culverts were not put in its spec, and so there's all kinds of questions that people might wonder about. So. And the town actually is kind of going the other, there's roads that we kind of in our heads want to get rid of, not add to, so that's kind of the.
That's understandable. I mean, right, our road's in very good shape right now, especially the little bit of ditching that you did this year, and
Yeah.
culverts are in good shape on that road.
you don't have a road association or anything, do you? Because I live on a road that has the same situation, and we, and a lot of out-of-staters, and we have a road association, and we collect money, and we maintain the private part
We do.
through.
Yes,
That's the way we do that too.
Yeah,
Janice sends out the letters every year and lets everybody know how many have contributed, and yes, we
Right.
do, and we work on our mile that is private. I think we're in a little different situation than some of the camp roads where they might be private all the way in. We've got a mile of town road that we have to access to get to our private road,
yeah, we have the same situation,
so.
same exact, so.
Yeah, my brother lives on a road in Abbott, at Piper Pond, and it's just, the entire road is pretty long, is all association. And they keep it open all winter. People or at the very end, so that's pretty common, I think. Would anybody else like to speak tonight? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Kelvin Ames. I inherited the property on Silver Mill Road after my father passed. And when they did his property, when they put the trailer in, they put the leach field up front of the house. Well, they had the driveway there, but they moved it down instead of moving it up. And right now, what's going on is all that water is washing down every winter. And it's been hard to keep it cleaned up out there, and the culvert is pushing up. And it's causing a big dip between the culvert and the road, and it's starting to push the road down a little bit. And I've had fire trucks and other people pull in the driveway, and they broke the end of the culvert on both ends. And the way to fix this, and I've discussed it with Warren New, is the kid can move that driveway up 5 to 10 feet from where it's at. And I even offered to buy the culvert to make it bigger. I just don't have the equipment to do the groundwork, and that culvert is messed up real bad. There's a leak going in there somewhere, and it's causing it to wash out all the time. And it's gonna cause a problem, because during this winter, and I get pictures, but they built the ice up that high and about that wide. And not to throw the fire department in anybody's face, but I'm on the fire department. I just got that cleaned out, and we just had a call. It took me an hour to clean into that driveway. And I did everything I could, because it was just icing up and icing up and icing up, and it just kept building and building. And there's almost been a couple of accidents in front of my house because of it. And I was just trying to see if the town could help me work something out to move that driveway up. Like I said, I'll buy the culvert and make it bigger. I just need somebody to do the groundwork. Plus, it needs some ditching along that area anyways, because it's all washing down in and stuff to build up, and it's causing my mailbox to tip right over every year. And every time they pull in to do the mailbox, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's causing a big problem down that corner. And I was just seeing if somebody can work with me on it.
Yeah, Warren did say it was becoming a problem, where the ice is coming on the road.
Sounds like the French's Mills Road one, like the one across from my house, that was backing up the same way.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
And I know, I've
Yeah, it just needs to be reset.
Time, they can help me work it out, during the
Well,
winter.
probably needs a new culvert now.
But they can't just come in and clean into my driveway out. I mean, they gotta work on the road, so I just can't actually say, can you back up, come scoop that out for me?
Right.
No, I'm not sure, interestingly enough, probably the culvert is our responsibility. I mean, you offered nicely to pay for it, but actually I think that's the part we have to pay for.
But it is, I've had fire trucks when Walter Packard lived across the street, and they've turned around in my driveway, and it ain't you guys' fault, the driveway is narrow, but when they turn in, they keep dropping off and breaking the end of the culvert. So, when they have to turn around there. And I was just seeing somebody to work with, and like I said, I keep filling it in, and it just keeps sinking and sinking and sinking, right at the end between the culvert and the road, and it's kind of puts the road down a little bit.
Well,
It's gonna cause an accident.
In light of the fact that it is causing a hazard on the road, it may be that we should,
oh, no, what's,
And the end is out there, out the way.
The culvert's not letting water run through it, it's our responsibility.
It just keeps pushing it down and down and down, and it just gets,
yeah, we'll look at it.
Okay.
We have to.
yeah,
it's on 119 Silver Mill Road, you know where I live.
you know where it is.
Yeah, he
Okay.
ain't lying, it builds up pretty good. Rich.
I
Okay.
have it back
Okay.
there, I'm gonna do it, but I don't have the right equipment to do it with power lines and everything. right now.
Actually, we are really supposed to do it anyway, so
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah, we'll take care of it.
yeah.
I just want it moved up, because like I said, if it stays where it is, and I've been having trouble with the leach field, because every time somebody pulls up, where they get the leach field set up, you pull up in the end, they keep pushing down, and all of a sudden, every spring, I have to dig that off and reset the pipe, and all that sewage go down into the driveway and into the ditch.
Well, this is the time to address it. Seth will come over and look at it, I'm
You know,
sure.
and I discussed it with Seth before, and he's never come back, and never got back in contact with me.
Right.
And this has been going on since last year. I just-
Yeah, it was. Last year when you first started talking to me about it.
Yeah,
Last year it really wasn't an issue though. This year it has become an issue.
it's getting worse.
Yes.
And
We'll see if we can get at it before the frost hits the ground.
I just don't want to see an accident happen out front of the
Sure.
house.
We're with
Sure.
you.
I don't want to have some cause of an accident being on the fire department.
Mm.
Right. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gil.
Anybody else? Okay. Moving on to old business, road improvement.
Thank you.
So basically, I think we have two options left as far as companies that can do some of this work. There will be Pikes and Roundy's before, before snow flies. The highlighted numbers are basically comparing apples to apples. Because we asked for a quote on 1.5 inches of overlay that was 12.5 millimeter with an average shim of 1 inch at 12.5 millimeter. They quoted something slightly different, 2 inches of base at the 19 millimeter and 1.5 inches of the top coat surface.
Are these numbers up 21 feet wide or 20?
I don't know what Pikes
21, I believe.
did, Brownies did 21, but
Do you think they both did 21 set?
Yeah.
Okay.
They all have the same.
Well, as long as they're equal, I mean, we know we're gonna go linear,
Yeah,
but if we're looking at an
yeah.
equal way of figuring it, then it's just gonna correlate less, so.
as you can see, Pikes, they recommended the 2 inches of base and the 1.5 inches of surface, but they quoted what we asked them to quote as well. Roundy's recommends more binder and less surface. That's more expensive, but if you do the 2 inches of binder and the surface, that's what that 176,960 equals.
Oh, so if we said no, they're recommending.
They're
if we didn't
recommending
Do the
2.5.
recommendation and said, no, we wanna go with the 2 and the 1.5. I see, that's what the 176
So
is.
the bottom number for Roundy's, the 2 and 1.5 at 12.5, coming out at 1799,
Yeah,
is almost identical
to 180.
to the 180.
They're almost.
And those are-
$500 of each.
Right, and those are apples to apples.
No,
They're not.
The 176,960 and the 180
is apples to apples.
is apples to apples. 183.55.
Yeah, did you notice that Roundy's numbers for 1 inch of surface, 1.5 inch surface, they gave you the same number?
I know.
So
They
you
did.
don't know which number's right here.
I don't, and I think
Well,
that,
I'm
and
going with, I think the 1,100 tons is probably right for the 1.5 inch, cause that's what
I
Pikes
think,
told you.
I do believe that's,
That
True.
makes sense?
So basically, I mean, if you went with this number, this 2.5 and 1, you'd cut a quarter of that off, a
You
third
might.
of that off.
you
off
might,
this
I just
number.
didn't dare cut it because I don't know for
It has to
sure.
be. I mean, Pike is saying, they did the math at 1.5 inches at 21 feet, and they come up with 1,100 ton.
Right.
So that ought to match Roundy's. So if you take a third of that off, this other number. We've never talked about that scenario, but that probably does make it better than going with 2.5 and 1 inch.
Oh, of course, yeah. More binder, yeah.
And the more
It's
binder,
cheaper.
well, binder's cheaper, but if you use more tonnage, then it's more money.
But you're still talking the same thickness, you're not gonna use them a ton. In theory, right?
In theory, yep.
No, that's the whole idea of reclaiming, so that you know what you're putting down.
And we're not going 21 feet on a lot of that road.
Right in town, we're not gonna know.
So this number should be less, it should be less than this number when we're done.
It should be.
What's availability of these two, do you know?
As far as reclaiming, they're gonna start right off.
Yeah, no, but as far as paving,
I talked
I haven't
to
talked to them for a
Roundy's, today, and she said that they're finishing up some projects in the next week. Less if it doesn't rain.
yeah,
And
it's
so
definitely gonna
they're
rain.
talking the week of the 16th, they think they can get us.
So they have availability for September, not a problem right now,
Correct.
and we don't know that about Pike.
I don't, no.
Because that would, for me, the few $1,000s promise us September versus maybe sometime in October would make the decision.
But Roundy's and I didn't talk reclaim because they have to schedule somebody else, so.
Right, we're gonna have
No,
that.
Pike
We're
is doing
gonna
the
do that.
reclaiming.
Okay.
I found out today, they really don't wanna reclaim it without paving it.
Oh, okay, so that's
He said he would, just because he's dealt with me a lot of times, but he says that they
He'd
generally.
rather not.
Right, cause he says if they put, hot top on, they're gonna blame it on
Oh,
the
sure,
reclaim guy.
sure.
But
Says
he needs
it
to,
happens all the time.
he needs to give you some availability though.
Yeah, well, I haven't asked him, cause I thought we had
Okay.
set on Roundy's pretty much, so. I can ask him.
Have you ever done that 2.5 in 1 scenario?
I've always done 2 in 1.
You've done 2 in 1.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I was told with the 2.5 was that because the particulate is bigger, they want the greater depth,
Thicker. yeah,
thicker.
thicker.
How's your 2-in-1 working?
I don't have a problem, yeah,
And I know an extra half inch
Yeah,
makes a
that's
big difference.
huge.
of course.
It's like
Yeah.
exponential.
I mean, we've always been suggested that we do the 1/2 inch on the surface, but really is that,
Exactly. That's what we've
should
always
you
done,
go
too.
the
Yeah.
1/2 inch the other way?
Yeah,
It's a lot of money to gamble.
right.
But, I mean, that 19 millimeter aggregate, that's where the majority of the strength of your road
That's
is.
right.
Seems like it would be.
Mm.
So, I mean, I understand their thought, that if you make the stronger,
Base of
stronger.
it stronger, yeah, I know. Yeah, probably stop some of the separating.
Mm.
Or is there a point that with the bigger aggregate, you go the other way too?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's the other question.
I'm not a hot top guy, so I don't know.
Well, that's the problem though, is you talk to 5 of them when they're right
Give you
here,
different
and they give you
opinions.
different input.
But Roundy's isn't doing any reclaiming, so they
Right.
obviously, whoever reclaims, it's not them. They're paving over somebody else's work every single time,
Every time, yeah.
so. When will gravel be going down up there?
Tomorrow morning.
And,
We were supposed to start this morning, but I had some issues today.
and Pike's gonna reclaim either way, it sounds like.
Yes.
I mean, they may not be.
They will, yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay.
He said he would.
But if Pike reclaims, with their reclaimer, you gonna upgrade that afterwards? That's gonna be a done deal.
When Pike does it, it's all done under
And
that.
that's what I
Wow,
thought, there's no
that's
extra
great.
cost,
That's great.
like where Roundy was saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a,
Whatever
another
Pike you do,
savings,
it's gonna be all rolled,
ready to
laid
go.
back where it's supposed to be. yeah.
Wow, that's great.
That's why I like Pike usually. They're a lot more professional to me, I think, but that, when you call them, they'll give you an answer right off.
That's good.
Well, to me, the big question is, when would they pave it?
Correct.
If they can't, if they're vague on it.
Right.
I don't have a good feeling about it,
Yep, I don't blame you.
because we got pushed out really late last year.
Yeah, last year, yeah, that's right.
And really, I mean, if they're gonna reclaim it and roll it and have it ready for paving, it'd be nice to have that paved within a week or so.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the idea of somebody coming in on the 16th
Sooner the better.
is
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, the sooner the better.
So can we urge Pike to, I mean, it'd be nice, well, you haven't spoken to them because you.
I haven't talked to him about hot top, no.
Okay, because of Round-
He's
because-
asked me about sending contracts right up, and I was like,
Oh.
well, easy now,
Oh,
I don't wanna
Oh.
get too much going here. but-
We didn't even have the money till a few minutes ago.
yeah, so maybe now we go after them and see when they can commit to us, especially since they put us off so far last year. They should
I think you'll find that they'll get right on it as soon as, he
Well,
said
that
they're
would
gonna
be
be ready to
great.
buy soon, so.
So,
But on a price point, if Roundy's is cheaper and they can do the same job,
Mhm.
would you use Roundy's?
I don't know.
That's the question. Not really to
Yeah,
put you on
they
the
did a
spot.
real good
The
job
answer-
over there.
I thought they did a good job. There was a couple, I still think there's a couple of little things they could have done a little better,
Of
but.
course. But, yeah. I think they could've gone just.
Is that something you'd want them to,
What's that?
is that something you'd want them to address if,
Well, I mean, I don't know if pavement legit fell out of the truck or what, but if you
Oh,
don't
down on the
have.
flat,
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing to do with what they did, but
just
Oh,
scrape
what
it
is-
off the road.
I think,
Oh,
I think
globs
someone
of it?
stopped and cleaned that truck off right there.
that's
Oh,
what it,
jeez.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, it just falling off, let's hopefully that's what happened.
Yeah,
You know, I was gonna go over and try to scrape it off, I'm sure I could,
Yeah.
on a hot day.
on a hot day, yeah, I'm sure it come right off there.
Well, I mean, that was
It's
old
not
pavement it's
plow
on,
trucks.
it's not on new pavement, so it shouldn't have,
Right.
it shouldn't be there very good.
Right, hopefully it didn't adhere to that.
That's.
One will get it if I don't.
Yeah, that's right,
Yeah,
that's
well,
the,
yeah.
yeah.
First
might not
round
be
job,
happy
it's
when he
not-
gets it.
that's, yeah. Yeah, like you said, I mean, they did go where, I would've hoped they would've done a little bit more on that end, but.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
But I thought they did a good job around the driveways.
Yeah,
It definitely looks like we got all we paid for, I mean, it's nice thick, it looks good.
yeah,
I thought they did a good job all that way.
yeah, they did, yeah,
Just being a little picky on that mess, cause I mean, it's a lot of money, but.
exactly.
Did you, there was some discussion in the meeting a few minutes ago, you were not here, but questioning whether Roundy's, you didn't say Roundy's specifically, but who we use, do they have adequate?
He did,
You did say that?
yeah,
Whether they have adequate equipment.
to do the magnitude of this job.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay.
But none of us really knew the answer to
Yeah, I
that, so we
mean-
couldn't speak to it.
Well, they got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, okay,
They're a pretty big outfit, really, but growing.
yeah.
Well, we talked to the other town, I mean, Guilford used them last year, they
Yep,
said they did a good job for them, so.
yeah.
So that's not an issue,
No.
as far as using roundies.
I mean, personally, I just want to save a little bit of money, but. you know,
Yeah, and we kinda told Roundy's,
Yeah.
and did a good job on Silver's Mills, we'd give you a crack at this.
Right,
Right.
And
Right?
they're already telling us they're available, they're
Yeah.
cheaper.
I don't.
So there's a lot of complication here.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it kinda sounds like they'll all line up this time and try it.
Yep,
Yep,
Yep.
I think so.
okay, I think that's good.
So, I don't know if you need a motion for this or not, but
I think so,
you might as well.
180,000, she might want one.
Might
yeah,
want one.
I think.
Why don't you make it then?
I like to make motion to have Roundy's 2-inch binder, 1.5 overlay surface from feeders for, well, it's gonna be a little under, we don't have a real solid number, but the number in front of us is the 176,960, but that's based off 21 feet. so-
Second?
Any further discussion? Nope, we vote, all in favor? I guess this, we're gonna continue this on road improvement and a discussion of what our intention is with East Sangerville. So I think there's a lot of work to be done there, and
It sure is.
And I don't know, I mean, we talked a little bit about this last meeting.
Yes.
It doesn't seem, well, after listening to you, that it's realistic to expect you to do all that.
I don't, not all 3 miles, you know, I just don't see it happening.
So we're gonna have to get some other contractors involved.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, if you want 3 miles done,
Yep,
ain't no
okay.
doubt.
And that, I think,
I've started calling contractors, they're all
Yeah,
telling me
it's
they're
crunch time.
really busy.
Yeah.
That's what's going on, yeah.
But you can ditch later than you can pave if it doesn't
Sure, yeah,
snow.
The
right.
culverts are really the issue, the sooner you can get them in, because we gotta do the trench pave, I mean, you can't do that late, but,
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
so, I mean, if we
I
could.
think you and I have to sit down and do a list of which
But-
culverts, so I can,
yeah, you have a pretty good list on it.
Oh, yeah, he
Listen,
does.
every culvert,
I know you
where they
do.
all are.
Yeah.
I know you do, but I can't,
There's some painting on the road over there, I heard,
That's
so,
right.
yeah.
There is.
yeah. But we,
There's some other
I,
roads too.
what, if we could find a contractor that you guys, and you get, one starts on one end, one starts on the other,
Right.
you might knock those culverts out pretty quick,
Yep.
so. That
I'll
might be,
do-
The trucks, it's not good.
Okay.
yeah. Okay, that's kinda, and Dale's right, the trench paving is, we'll have to bring somebody in for that afterwards, but.
But I mean, that's kinda really, that's the cutoff, right? You don't wanna be doing culverts when you can't get pavement no more.
No,
I mean,
no, right.
and we didn't talk about it, you mentioned that you've done that, so I'm not sure your way, so I don't know cost wise, which is.
One way is probably not the right way. I'll tell you that.
Oh, I know, but,
No, I just gonna have to get hot top down with my plant and put it in there.
and we've done that, we've done that in Sangerville too.
Yeah,
We got the vibrating run over after.
exactly, yeah.
And on our road, we've screeded it with a 2x4, so
Mhm.
probably not the right way, but it works.
Exactly.
The spec.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
may not have been up to spec, but
Right.
it lasted quite a while.
Also, do you wanna address gravel roads for fall? In particular, any sequence or targets? This is on here.
Well, I mean, to me, really, the big things that I think that I really need to get talked about is that piece, short piece on the line road.
Yeah,
And then there's
There's a small
two
piece.
spots on the Anderson Road that get pretty bad.
yeah. There's a small piece on the Flanders Hill too, in that section,
Yeah, that one right by that corner.
right before the corner.
Yeah,
It gets pretty bad.
yeah. And there's gotta be a spring or something right there. That's, I mean, you could almost set a cone on it and
Mm-hmm.
you know right where it's gonna come out.
Yeah,
What road
a
was
lot of
that?
shade right there too.
Oh,
On Flanders Hill, the short dirt section right on the top
Oh,
of the
yeah,
hill,
yeah.
corner.
yep. Do we have that on this list, Flanders Hill?
I also noticed Brockway, I was on Brockway this weekend, and it's pretty steep as you leave Silver Mills Road.
Mhm.
It's a lot of washout on both sides there,
Yeah, we have.
and we should probably try to cuff that back in before winter.
Oh, I know.
And I'm sure we got a lot of places like that with all this rain, but
Yes.
that one was really bad.
Yeah, over the Jack McConnell, we're washing pretty good, Bean Hills, got
Yeah,
some pretty good wash.
I'll bet, yep. Now that you probably can do a little bit later, so that's, I mean,
Mhm.
as long as the ground's not frozen, you can.
Right,
And we do have somebody left on the grader line, right?
4,500.
Plus, I mean, with what we just got, so I mean, if we need more than that, then
I think we're gonna be running out of weather before we run out of money.
I know some too.
that's okay. I would just as soon have the money and do everything that we can get
Correct.
done, and then
That's
it
right.
just sits there and it's.
Yeah,
have it for next
4,500.
year, I mean. So,
Okay. Anything else on road improvements?
No.
Moving on to winter sand.
Okay, I sent out at least a dozen letters. As of Tuesday, I had one reply. I got another one today. And I spoke to several other people. I spoke to Chuck O'Brien. He had told me he was interested in putting in a quote. He's taken a big job and says he can't do that. But he gave me a price of $375 a yard to screen and load trucks for that. I don't know if that helps us or not, because
where's this pit?
Yeah,
he's out at Dexter, but I don't know where the pit.
Milo, it
I was thinking
Milo?
Atkinson,
Oh, Milo.
I believe it's in Milo, but
isn't it?
it's up that way somewhere.
I was thinking it was down.
But he said he can't do it because he's too busy?
Yeah,
He's
no,
too
truck.
busy, he doesn't have the trucks to
What's
haul
Parkman
it.
doing?
What's that?
What's Parkman doing?
I don't know yet.
Did you have more
I've been
interest?
looking into some gravel, some sand the guy thinks he found up at Kingsbury. So I gotta go up and look at that and see if it's worth the bother.
Okay, because that might be an option for us too.
Yeah, before all
I called
Yes.
Garish, they had received my letter, but just hadn't really thought about it, and when I told them what the deadline was, well, we can't tell you that fast, and didn't get back to me. And then I talked to Seth Snowman out of St. Albans. He has some pits in this area, but he says he can't quote because all of his gravel's his sand's underwater. And so he'd have to pull it out, dry it out before he could.
There's gonna be some of that, I bet.
So if next year, if we want to do this process earlier, he would be happy to quote.
I ran into Steve Lawson on another matter and asked him if he had gotten a bid, and he had, and I think his mindset was if he had to put up a pile. And I said, well, you don't necessarily have to put up a pile. but
Right.
If we could, so it might be worth circling back around to him, but
Again, okay.
I don't, he sounded like, I almost get the sense like everybody's kind of hoarding their sand, I don't know. It's,
Well, it did say,
it's like,
Yeah.
oh, well, yeah, we got your letter. I'm like, okay.
the demand seems to be outstripping our supply, or at least, I don't know.
The only other near place would be Weber's Pit. That's $6 loaded on a truck.
That's over in Garland,
Go. Yeah.
$6.
I made the round trip today, just.
Right.
An hour and 15 minutes in my pickup, so
Yikes.
maybe an hour and a half round trip with a dump truck.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And that's how many yards?
What do you put, 23?
22.5,
22.5.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, but when you're hauling, how many yards?
12.
12.
Yeah.
So an hour and a half for every
Yeah,
12.
that's right.
Whoa.
Kingsbury is closer?
No, I think we're running about the same.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Where,
What about, to go totally out of the box, but what about town of Dexter? Town of Dover? They both have pits right on the Dover-Dexter road.
Well, I had a meeting with the Scataquist town managers the other day. We didn't mention that. I can call Jack Kluke and Trampus and see.
It might be willing to,
I think they have a sand available, but you would have to go in and screen it yourself, I believe. I believe is how that works. I think. I've talked to Eric a few times with it.
again, that's something we'd have to get in front of. A little late
Oh,
for
yeah,
that.
a little late
Well, you,
for
It
that.
is.
you never know. I
Okay.
mean,
It's a phone call.
Yeah.
That's right.
I can make it.
I've been down the Dexter road when Dexter's hauling theirs, they have a whole fleet of trucks steady
Oh,
running
yeah,
right back and
yeah,
forth. So,
yeah. I
And
think
they
Corona
have-
gets theirs out of there too, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's getting so far away now.
so what are we gonna do? Just hang on to these for now?
I think we
and-
have to do some more
try to
legwork.
get something quick, but
I would say if you have numbers, we should have a meeting.
Yep.
So
Okay.
if we get numbers next week, let's have a meeting and get our sand
just a
put
2-minute,
to bid, yeah.
get it done.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's done.
Yep. Even if it's not exactly what we
Alright.
hoped for.
Put those in my file so I know.
Yep.
Thank you, Joe.
And there's that. Ticker there.
Seems like it takes forever for it to get started, but it winds down just like that.
Oh,
Yep.
no.
It's
It
amazing.
never got started this year. is the
I know,
problem.
yeah. Terrible year.
Item C, deeded easement for town sign.
Okay, I sent this to you by email. I've read it. I guess my question is, do you want me to run it past legal? Here's a better
Is that the one that you sent to us?
Yes, that's what I
Okay.
sent to you. That's the
Okay.
one for the
Yep.
sign on Route 23.
Yep.
The state's willing to give us a deeded easement to leave our sign there and to access it and maintain it.
I don't think it needs to go to legal
And
itself.
there's no cost.
Nothing.
no cost.
No, in fact,
Yeah.
No.
there's, somebody else is gonna buy it
Yeah,
with
yeah.
these conditions.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty good deal for the town.
Easement language is pretty standard.
Mm-hmm.
And
But
I,
saying that,
and I suspect the state has done hundreds of
Right,
these, or similar ones. Okay. Guys comfortable with
I'm
it?
very, very comfortable.
Yeah.
with
All
it.
right.
I think do we need signatures? I can't
I think so.
remember.
I think
Yeah.
you do.
Okay. I don't know if you want to vote before you sign.
Actually, it doesn't have, it's not set up for all of us.
It
It's
isn't.
okay. It's all you.
She's
So
happy to let
just
you
make a
sign.
motion that, we sign
We
the,
accept these.
accept the deeded easement from the state.
Second.
Any further discussion? No, we all vote to accept. Yeah, so this language is really on them, not so much on us. It's their property, it's not our property. Yeah, so
Okay.
that's why the signature is them.
Oh, good.
I was very surprised that they would do that, so,
Yeah, well,
They
That's
seemed
nice.
they were very open
yeah.
to it.
That's
to show.
great.
well, it's a
All of them.
solution I hadn't even thought of initially.
'Cause there's-
So, and I bet you the abutters aren't gonna mind, or whoever ends up with it. Obviously they're not, because they wouldn't buy it otherwise. Okay, item 6, new business.
I didn't add anything new. I figured we had enough to
You're
cover.
good, okay. Item 7, committee reports.
I don't have any committee reports. I've been talking with the Park and Rec Committee about some signage. They're thinking about a 2x3 or a 30x36 sign with an abbreviated version of the park rules, just so it's bigger and brighter. They sent me a suggestion today that it had pictures with the same rules, same, no, throw stuff in the trash can, dogs on leash, drives.
No smoking.
No smoking, no
Mhm,
drinking.
mhm, mhm.
So we're just seeing what's most cost effective there. I will be ordering them some signs. And that's about it for committees.
Item 9, correspondence, state of Maine.
Okay, this afternoon, I got a letter from the state that says, the purpose of this letter is to inform you about the implementation of a new law, an act to return funds to Maine property taxpayers, and to give you ample time to prepare and send information to the office of the state treasurer per the law. We appreciate the many demands and pressures you face and wish to make this process as smooth as possible for you and your constituents. The law replaces the tax relief fund for Maine residents with the new property tax relief fund for Maine residents. As with the legacy tax relief fund, the new property tax relief fund will be funded annually through the so-called cascade, receiving 20% of the unappropriated surplus of the general fund after all required deductions are made. Given revenues, we anticipate the fund to be at a level where payments directly to property tax homesteaders will be made in 2020. The amount of each tax relief payment will be determined annually by dividing the total amount of funds available in the new property tax relief fund, net of administrative costs, by the number of homesteads that qualify for the Maine homestead property tax exemption when the minimum payment per homesteader is at least $100. This law requires the state treasurer to direct the assessor for each municipality and the state tax assessor for the unorganized territories to report to the treasurer of the state by January 1st the name and address of property taxpayers for each homestead within the assessor's jurisdiction. Although the law sets January 1st as the deadline, we respectfully ask you to send the list by November 1st based on feedback from municipal officials, advocates, and for operational reasons. In the coming weeks, we will be requesting a list, preferably in Excel database format, for required information to be completed by your tax assessor and returned to us electronically no later than January 1st. at propertytaxrelief@maine.gov. The list should consist of individual taxpayers who qualify for the homestead exemptions as of April 1st, 2019, along with their mailing addresses. Please let us know if you expect any challenges with this request and provide contact information for the person from your municipality who will be working with us on this project. Thank you for your time and attention. Again, we appreciate the many demands and pressures you face and wish to be your partner in implementing the laws passed by the legislature, signed by the governor. If you require further information, please contact my office at 207-624-7477. Laura Hudson, Matt Colpitz, and I will be happy to assist you. Regards, Henry E.M. Beck. I don't know.
By morning?
Yeah, I don't know
What did you
exactly.
say?
Have that done by morning.
Yeah.
Right,
I
right.
don't know exactly what that means for us. I've got to talk to Josh and I've got to look and see what this law
Well,
actually
he's got it with
is.
every town he's
Right,
servicing.
right,
so-
he's probably right up to snuff, knows
Or
exactly.
will
Yeah.
So as I said, it came in this afternoon. I haven't even had time to digest it, except that somebody needs something by November 1st.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I guess along those lines, I got a call from the state of Maine regarding an abatement request that we had. And it was a little bit confusing because the example that she gave me with regard to the April 1st law sounds like we did exactly what we were supposed to do. But at the same time, it almost sounded to me like she was feeling like we would be overruled. I guess there's an entity at the county level that these things are appealed to. And so we may end up there. And if that happens, if we're asked to go to a hearing, one of us would have to go, or, well, if one of us doesn't go, we're gonna lose the hearing.
Right,
Josh will go.
Josh
Sure.
would be expected to go,
Yeah.
for sure. I haven't had any more conversation with Josh, so I don't know if his opinion on that whole process has changed. But that's where we're at right now.
and how was it left with the conversation, that we would be hearing from them?
She kind of, yeah, Lori, and I forget her last name, essentially thought that we should anticipate that we're gonna hear from the
And we
county.
have,
And we
we haven't heard from the county. We've heard from the taxpayer.
Yes, but I guess her conversation with the taxpayer led her to believe that
Oh, it
we're
was a
probably
done
gonna hear
deal.
from the county.
Oh,
And I also I almost got the impression from Lori that she moves this to the county, and I think she was going to,
okay.
so,
I
which
was-
I'm fine with all.
I
Yes.
was requested to put in writing the board's decision. No motion has been made on this, but we don't have to put it in writing. She can still appeal.
Correct. It was, I'll give you the example that she gave, was kind of interesting, because I said basically we were making our decision based on that April 1st
Deadline,
date
right.
that our assessor's agent, none of us really knew that law, but he brought it to our attention.
Right.
And said that if you were gonna make a change of that sort, you needed to do it prior to that date. And she said, well, if your house burned down on April 1st, and it's totally gone, you are still responsible for all of the taxes. She said, it doesn't sound fair, but that's how it is. And I said, okay, well, that's kinda how we ruled.
Right, that's right.
So anyway,
There's a
that's,
drop dead date.
I don't know what's gonna happen, but one of us may have to go.
I don't think it'll go away, is basically,
I'm fine with it not, I mean, honestly, if it ends up at the county level. from
they'll
what
tell
he-
us yay or
Yes,
nay, and
That's
we'll,
right, that's
and
right.
we'll follow what they
That's
tell us.
fine, that's.
From what Mike's saying, at the state level, they're almost saying both things. I mean, when you give that example, that's exactly what we're doing is, you know, when you're questioning the VAT, nobody see it prior to that date, so you
Yeah.
can't.
Now, that wouldn't mean, if I were if you asked me to try to prove her side of it, or the property owner's side of it, if you could demonstrate that this demolition took place prior to that date, That might be a pretty compelling case, nobody did that. But if you had, receipts or contractor work that,
Right.
then
Or a
I,
building notice.
sure, that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But we didn't get anything like that, so
Right,
that's kind of where we stand.
right.
That's it for that. Request for additional agenda items? Anybody? Selectmen's concerns?
Never mind.
Executive session? I am gonna ask for an executive session under 1 MRSA 4056A. A is for personnel. I need a second.
Second, sorry.
Any further discussion? No, we'll vote. We're now in executive session.
What time is it, 7:30?